Well, the end of the year is here and you're making all of your plans for 2019. Today we're going to talk about the power of pivoting. Now listen, we've got these great, hopefully you've got these really great strategies and things you're going to roll out, which you're going to do in 2019 for sales and marketing. But you know what? All the technology and a lot of strategies and different practices are changing at a breakneck speed. So today we're going to talk about pivoting and making sure that, yes, you've got some great plans and strategies, but what are those indicators and what are things that you can do to listen to say, hey, you know what, we need to make a move. And we're 6 months in, we're 3 months in, maybe we're 9 months in, and why that's really important. So stay tuned.
Welcome to IndustrialSage, a free video podcast series all about digital marketing for industrial manufacturers. Hear interviews with your peers and find out how they're solving the same challenges that you might be facing in your own field. Coming to you from the Optimum Production Studio in Atlanta, Georgia, this is IndustrialSage.
All right, so we're getting ready for 2019. It's super close down the road, so hopefully you've got your plan for 2019 all locked up. If you haven't, well, hey, listen, we can help you out with that, but that's another thing for another day. But today I want to talk about the power of pivoting, because you know what can happen a lot of times, and we run into that as run into the same exact issue, is that you've got your plan, everything looks nice and it's buttoned up, and you know we're going to do an email campaign, we're going to do this once a quarter, we're going to do a big campaign, and we're going to have a webinar, we're going to have a drip campaign, and then we're going to have all these ads, we're going to do all these different things, and something can come in on top of it and just blow it up. And we need to make sure that you've got your ear to the ground to have a good understanding of when you say, you know what, we do need to totally make a pivot and deviate off course versus not. And the beauty of it is that now we're able to get feedback pretty quickly through digital campaigns, and that whether that's in sales or digital marketing, that we're able to do that. So I'll give you some really good examples, even that we've experienced at Optimum and at IndustrialSage as well. And we even have some articles and some content on this. So one, for example, is best practices for using LinkedIn video, for example. So I think we released this whole blog article. This is several months ago. I can't remember which one it is, but we'll link to it. And we talked about how it was, some protocols on how to do LinkedIn video and how to, use YouTube or use an outside video player like a Wistia or Vidyard, and that's how you do it. Well, then all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, they roll out with LinkedIn native video. And now we were seeing that with Facebook and Twitter's doing that, and but they hadn't had that. Well, all of a sudden, boom, they had that change. Well, you might be thinking to yourself, well, okay, fine. LinkedIn rolled out with their new video, and that changes how we do things a little bit. But I can tell you for a fact, it had a tremendous impact on our results if you use LinkedIn's native video player. So what I'm talking about is you've got a video. Instead of taking a YouTube link or using another media player, I mentioned like a Wistia or a Vidyard, and embedding it in your post, uploading it directly through LinkedIn. So we can go do a post, whether it's a company page or your personal page, you can upload a video there. If you upload through LinkedIn, you're going to get much better results. Why? Because LinkedIn prefers that. LinkedIn wants you to stay on their platform. So let's say YouTube, for example. You have a YouTube video there. Sometimes other suggestions come in and they can drive you away from LinkedIn. LinkedIn doesn't want that. They want you to stay there. So they made that change. And so that kind of really changed that whole article and that procedure on what we were saying is best practices for using video on LinkedIn. And so as a result, we had to make an organizational change on how we roll out content through IndustrialSage and content for our clients as well. So really it's super important to keep that your ear to the ground. And saying, you know what, we thought that we were going to go do it all YouTube strategy, but now we're realizing, geez, we got to abandon that because things are changing dramatically. Another good example on that, as far as LinkedIn goes, is LinkedIn is slowly rolling out more native video for, let's say, company pages. Is another thing. So we had to actually have we had to go get a special permission or request to have video on our IndustrialSage page. So another good example of that with LinkedIn in particular is that they're still rolling out native video capabilities for different areas. So you saw that first on your personal pages, then company pages rolled out with it. And to be 100% honest with you, I'm not even sure that all the company pages have that yet. We had to ask for it months ago, and we got it, which was great. So we knew that was coming down the tracks. LinkedIn Groups is another thing we're seeing. Is in Groups you have the ability to upload video there where you didn't have that before. Again, total workflow change. It changes how you're able to collect analytics and data. And that's a whole other thing too. If video is a strong part of your strategy, it was a little easier when you could just go through YouTube or Wistia or a Vidyard, because you could have one place where you could kind of track all those analytics. Well, now things are a little segmented. You want the better experience for the user. If that's the most important thing, which it really probably should be, then you got to get that data from inside LinkedIn, and you may have 3 or 4 different areas where you need to go pull that, and then marry it to the data, the video data that you have on your website. Does that make sense? So it starts getting really complicated on the back end, and it totally changes on how you might approach something. So it's very important to have your ear to the ground, to have an understanding of like what are those changes, what are those things coming up, and how does that impacting your go-to market strategy. I'll give you another example. Several years ago, we were harping on user-generated video content. So what do I mean by user-generated video content? I mean, having video created that is not done by a professional outfit or done in a professional manner. So, you started seeing a lot of, iPhones, coming out, having the ability to be able to do 4K video and all this stuff. And you look at it and the quality's like, the quality's not that bad. So you started, it started rubbing, honestly, from a video production side, we're a little bit like, well, I don't know, do we fully embrace this? Is there really value? And now it's like, this is such an important thing that like, this is a must have. Matter of fact, we're going to be talking about this in the we have some upcoming episodes where we have people coming in talking about the importance of creating your own video content to help to build your personal brand. We're seeing a lot of that on LinkedIn. We actually have someone coming in from Rockwell Automation that's going to talk about that. And it's kind of really going against the grain of what we talked about several years ago. But as things have evolved, it's something that we've said, we totally have to embrace this. This is super important. This isn't replacing professionally created and produced video, but it's complementing it. We are a video consuming market. We consume videos B2B, B2C. It's just it's one of the most engaging and best performing tactics you can have out there. So it's really neat as all the technology is evolving, that we're starting to see, well, no, actually there really is value in this over here, and it's not replacing that, and it's complementary. Again, not replacing it, but it definitely is complementary, and it's very helpful in the sales process. It's very helpful in marketing. It's interesting. We're seeing sometimes we're having these, professionally produced videos we're seeing on like Facebook, for example, are not performing as well against user-generated content, where content you're creating stuff from your phone. Also to that point, another a pivot thing is the ability. One of the things that we hated, and we talked about this, was like, when you make a video from your phone, if you do it, shoot it like this, right? Well, now we're seeing vertical video, or this way. So instead of having the background, vertical, and how that is really important. We're seeing a higher increase through click-through rates, longer engagement through that. Instagram, good example here, over the summer made a big platform change where they were allowing Instagram video through their stories, or vertical video through their Instagram stories, and then allowing longer form content where it was just like 60 seconds or maybe 2 minutes or so. Now you can go up to 2 minutes. And it's totally flipping the script on how you might create that content. So whereas before we would say, listen, if you're going to shoot a video, you need to hold your phone, like this versus like this. Well, if you think about it, when you're on your phone, when your prospects and they're looking at LinkedIn or they're looking at Instagram or Facebook, they're looking at it this way and they're scrolling up. They're not looking at it like this for the most part. So we need to adapt to how our users are really consuming that content. So again, for us, we had an Instagram, a lot of content we're producing for Instagram. So well, you know what? We need to think about that. We need to be able to produce content that is both vertical and it's also your traditional 16:9. So you're holding it, like this. And also, 1:1, because that's going to be better performing on Facebook, for example. So all these little things, you need to make these pivot changes. So this is changing how we're doing it. We may completely go away from it. Even shooting videos, vertically, just if it's user generated content and it's stuff that you're doing for your own LinkedIn brand, start thinking about shooting that in a in a vertical sense. But it's and it's going to change. That's the crazy thing. So it's very important to have your ear to the ground, because that's going to impact your strategy. And it goes back to having the data and having the analytics and having really those tools to get an understanding of what's working and what's not. So for example, when we saw we've got the analytics and the data, when we started pushing out our videos on IndustrialSage, using Wisty or Vidyard as a player versus, or even YouTube versus using LinkedIn's native player, man, I tell you what, the view count was way higher, a lot more engagement. LinkedIn liked that better. So it's like, okay, we looked at the data, and we go. So, part of the moral of the story is you can't have your strategy and say, that's the strategy, let's go, and put your head in the sand and not look at the analytics and assess it and have an understanding of the trends and the topics and the different things that are happening that may say, oh gosh, we need to make this shift. It may even say, this is completely going a different direction. We need to shut this down. So that's really, really, really important to, having that power of the pivot. We've had other stories where we did one thing one way and something changed, and then we went back to it and it was better than it was the first time. We've got the data. We've got the tools. We can go and we can measure that very quickly. Ads is a really great way. That's another thing. We've got this survey going on right now. And we've made a lot of changes. We've made a lot of pivots to. We said, okay, let's try this. This isn't performing as well. Let's try that. Let's grease the skids, if you will, on using Amazon gift card. And just side note, if you haven't done the survey, take it. It's awesome. It's going to answer a lot of these questions that we're actually talking about today, like why you might want to pivot, getting some insights and data from what other manufacturers and industrial companies are doing and what they're planning on doing for 2019. It's very valuable. But the backstory on that is we've actually got a pretty good response so far. We just wanted to get some more. And we've got LinkedIn ads going. We've got email campaigns going. We've got grassroots. Hey, let's pick up the phone and call and say, hey, listen, can you do this? And we're getting a lot of results. But we've had to make changes. So we thought, oh, let's do the survey. Let's launch it through SurveyMonkey. And then now let's we're getting a lot of clicks, but not as many people were actually. We're getting a lot of clicks from LinkedIn ads, for example, but then they weren't necessarily converting, or they weren't necessarily completing all of the survey. So we said, okay, well, what can we do? Well, let's try offering this gift card. And then that means that's going to change our messaging and change all these little different things over here. But we've got the metrics, and you know what? Boom, wow. Imagine what happens when you offer people free $10 Amazon gift cards. But anyways, again, it's the beauty of what we have. And we were able to determine this and figure this out very quickly. It's not something that you have to wait months and months and months and months on. It's stuff that you can do in days or hours, and make these adjustments. So if we had just put our head in the sand and said, well, this isn't working, it's something that you have to constantly be evolving. It's an iterative process. And the thing that kind of stinks, but we love in another way, is that you can may figure it out and it works well, like for 3 months or 4 months or 5 or 6, however long. But inevitably, I can't talk, that there's going to be changes. And things are going to happen. You're not going to get the results that you want. There's going to be something better, and there's a reason for that. And you have to make that move. You have to make that pivot. You have to read the defense, so to speak. I'm not going to talk about the Georgia and Alabama game at all, because I'm still really heartbroken about it. Very big Georgia. For those of you not in the States or don't watch college football, I'm not going to get into it. I'm a really big Georgia fan. So anyways, so that's really it. So it's just really that call, that the takeaway, the moral of the story is, the importance of digging into the data, really looking at things, keeping your ear to the ground on the new trends, on what's going on, and having that flexibility to be able to adjust your strategy and your plan. Because, the honest to God truth is, especially the way that things are moving and the technology is changing so quickly, is that the way that you have set something out that even 6 months from now, it might not work as well as you want. So it's super important to be able to do that and stay on top of it. So that's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Listen, if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them for you. You can email us. We'll answer them on the show, or maybe even on a blog article. You can send us questions at industrialsage.com/questions. I mentioned the survey we've got going on. If you haven't done that, please take literally 6 minutes of your time, and we'll send you a gift card. $10, right? We're trying to get to a few more people in here to really make it super valuable. Once it's done, then we are going to put together all the results. We've got some really awesome preliminary results so far. We're going to send those out to you. What are you going to do with that? A lot. Use it for selling in, getting an understanding of, hey, there's some ideas here that we didn't think about. Maybe webinars are really good, or maybe using something on Reddit might be a good idea. Who would have thought about that? Using it to sell in bigger digital marketing strategies, or getting a sense of, hey, getting a sense of where you are in regards to the rest of the industry. Very valuable stuff. We would love your participation. We are only stronger together, and I would love your input. I think I'm done. If you were listening on iTunes and you haven't left a review, we'd love a review. That'd be really awesome. On social media, we'd love the shares, we'd love likes, comments, all that great stuff. So thanks again for watching this. We'll be back next week with another awesome episode of Industrial Sage. So don't stray too far. We'll see you next week.